everyone. My name is Desiree. I'm with the St. Louis County Library, and we are thrilled to bring this virtual event with the author and illustrator of the Bad Kitty series, Nick Bruel. This event is part of our Reading Garden event series, which features authors for our young readers. We are also fortunate to have an independent bookstore, Novel Neighbor, on board with us, and I highly recommend that you go to their web platforms for your purchases. I also want to give a huge shout out to HEC Media for helping us make this virtual author series a reality. Today, we are visiting with author-illustrator Nick Bruel. Nick collects Pez dispensers and is quite knowledgeable about tax code. However, you're probably more familiar with his books, Who is Melvin Bubble, A Wonderful Year, and the incredibly popular Bad Kitty series. Bad Kitty regularly visits state award lists and the New York Times bestseller list. Nick's newest book is Bad Kitty Joins the Team. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you, Desiree. Thank you for having me.
I just want to ask a real quick question. Do you still collect Pez dispensers?
I do, not with the passion that I used to, but it's something that started when I was just a little kid. And then I stopped for a while. But when I was in college, two things happened. A nearby stationery store was closing down near my college, and they had all these old Pez dispensers that were in their back room that they put out for cheap on the front. And I just grabbed them. I thought they were wonderful. And then when I went home, I found all the Pez dispensers I still had as a kid. And I realized they looked just so lovely when I displayed them next to each other on my shelf.
Do you have one that is like your favorite, your most prized possession?
I have one that I do like looking at more than the others, and it's an old Tinkerbell Pez dispenser, and it's just purely just the sweetness of her face and her design.
I want to talk about Bad Kitty a little bit. This new book, Bad Kitty Joins the Team, I gotta say, Bad Kitty just really does not seem like a willing participant in organized sports or exercise even. So what was your inspiration for Bad Kitty joining a team?
Well, that is an astute observation on your part, Desiree, I have to say, and you're absolutely right. And the reason Kitty is not an ideal sports participant is because when I was a kid growing up, I was not an ideal sports participant. I mean, it shouldn't come as a shock. I mean, look at me. When I was a kid, I had the ideal physique for someone who would grow up to write and illustrate children's books. But the inspiration for this came because every time I start writing a book or a story, especially a Bad Kitty story, I have to ask myself this pretty basic question, and that is, what do kids care about? You know, for instance, a bunch of years ago, I asked myself that question, what do kids care about? And the answer I came up with was birthdays. Kids care about birthdays, right? My daughter turned 12 back in January, and we did all the stuff you're supposed to do when, you know, you turn 12. We got some of our friends together, and we went to this place called Thrills, where they could ride on things. There was a virtual reality machine. There was a cyclone machine. There were arcade games that had a blast, and we took them home with chicken nuggets and stuffed themselves silly with pizza. And it was just fun. And there was a piñata, of course, right? And the very next morning, my daughter asked me, Dada, what are we going to do next year when I turn 13? Because kids care about birthdays. Right? Sports was the first one where I didn't come up with the idea because I was that kid who did not care about sports. But it was my editor, Emily, who suggested, why don't you do one where Kitty joins a team? Literally, she said that, and I realized that's got to be the title. So when I thought about it, I thought, yeah, even though I didn't care about sports, and I'm still kind of on the fence, kids do care about sports a lot. So I really thought about what Kitty would do for me, half the challenge is trying to get Kitty to be involved in anything that is put in front of her. So finding that route, that was a challenge as a writer and as a storyteller, and it was a fun ride.
Cool. Do you think you could read a little bit to us?
Yeah, in fact, it makes me think what I'll read to you is sort of Kitty's, early in the book is where Kitty is first sort of approached by our unseen owner and narrator about what she should do. So now, this is going to be chapter 2. So in chapter 1, Kitty has tried to chase our little friend Mouse, who is Strange Kitty's good friend, to disastrous results. And so it begins with chapter 2, just a little out of shape. Hi, Kitty. Let me guess. You were chasing Mouse again, weren't you? You'll never catch her, you know that, don't you? And Kitty goes staggering into the door, choke, cough, hack, wheeze. You're completely out of shape. It's no wonder why you never exercise. All you do is eat and sleep and sit around and eat and watch TV and eat and play video games and eat and... Kitty! Soda is the worst thing for you to drink when you're thirsty. You're dehydrated. Do you know what that means? It means that your body needs water. Here's some nice, cool, refreshing water for you to drink. If you don't drink enough water, your body becomes tired. Even your brain becomes tired. Without enough water, you can become very sick. And Kitty! Donuts are delicious, but they're full of fat and sugar. Your body needs healthier food to function properly. Instead of donuts, try asparagus. Did you know that asparagus is full of iron and potassium and vitamins E, C, E, K, and B12? Don't roll your eyes at me, young lady. That's it. From now on, every single day, even though you don't like it, you're going to do some exercise. This isn't a punishment, Kitty. You simply have to learn how to take better care of yourself. Maybe you can take up a sport. Sorry, Kitty. Video games are not a sport. No, Kitty, a donut eating contest is not a sport. No, Kitty, a hot dog eating contest is not a sport. No, Kitty, a pie eating contest is not a sport. And you'll see over here, our little friend Mouse is entering into the picture. No, Kitty, ice cream, taco, and pizza eating contests are not sports. If it involves food, it is not a sport. Please put all of that back into the refrigerator now. Thank you. Snicker, says our friend Mouse. How about dirt? Kitty's great at eating dirt because that's what she does every time she tries to catch me. Ha ha ha, he ha 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 ho. Now, that wasn't very nice, was it? Always ask yourself, WWCWD, what would Captain Walrus do? He'd laugh his radioactive blue tusks off, that's what. Kitty starts drawing a picture, and what she draws is a picture of Mouse sitting on a bed of potatoes. No, Kitty, a mouse eating contest is not a sport. Do they even exist? That's right, you maniac. There's no such thing as a mouse eating contest. Do you know why? It's because we're too quick, too agile, and too what's the word I'm looking for? Cat-like? That's the one. The point is, there isn't a cat alive that can ever catch a mouse. Well, says Strange Kitty. What? We cats can be ferocious hunters, capable of not only capturing but also consuming all sorts of prey. In other words, cats catch and eat mice all the time. You're crazy. Not at all. Allow me to enlighten you with something I call Strange Kitty's Fun Facts. Now, I've done surveys at schools in the past, and I found there are two different types of kids. There are those kids who religiously read every single word of the Uncle Murray Fun Facts, which is terrific. And then there are those kids who kind of like gloss over them, move on with the story, come back, maybe read them a little later. We're going to follow those kids' examples this time, and that's really more a matter of time. For those of you who really love the Uncle Murray Fun Facts, this time Strange Kitties, please do. Read them on your own. For those of you who don't, come back and read them when you feel like it. And there you have it. Cats chase mice, cats eat mice. It's the law of nature. I assure you that all of my information is researched and factual. Well, aren't you going to say something? You barbarian, says Mouse. I'm sorry, I thought you understood. I wasn't trying to upset you. Upset? I'm furious. Cough, hack, do you hear that? That's me choking on my rage. Imagine how you'd feel if you just found out that your best friend was secretly plotting to eat you the whole time. That's not true. We're still best friends. Not anymore, we're not. I'm not going to be friends with someone who thinks I'm little more than an appetizer, that I'm just some helpless, smaller creature here on Earth for kittens to slap around. You think I'm inferior, don't you? You think I'm a lesser species. I never said that. I propose a contest, a series of sporting events to prove who is faster, stronger, and more agile, mice or cats. Is this really necessary? Absolutely. The pride of my entire species is on the line. All right, so what are the stakes? If I win, I get to wipe my butt on your ultra-rare copy of the Mighty Ocelot number 14, which features the first appearance of Dr. Broccoli. That seems like a bit harsh, but okay. And if I win, then you get to eat me. What? You heard me. You get to chew on my little body like it's mouse-flavored bubblegum, swallow me whole, and listen to my pitiful screams as I drift through the darkness down your throat into your stomach where you'll digest me. It's the law of nature, isn't it? Isn't that what you said, isn't it? When next we meet on the field of battle. Sigh, says Strange Kitty. Kitty, did you hear that? These contests are just the sort of thing you need. You'll be able to compete and exercise at the same time. Kitty, where are you? Kitty? Kitty? Oh, Kitty. Burp, says Kitty. The end to chapter 2.
That was pretty awesome.
Thank you.
So we've met a couple of characters there. I want to know, are you more like Bad Kitty or Uncle Murray or Puppy or Mouse or Strange Kitty?
Of those.
Of your characters, yeah.
Of that array, certainly. And really of all the characters, the one I identify with most is, without question, Strange Kitty. And to explain why, I have to go back to when I first created him, which was in the second of the series, Happy Birthday, Bad Kitty. When I was writing that book, I needed to create all these sort of kitty characters to come into her world. So I started thinking about the kids I would see in classrooms I would visit. And there was always that one kid who's bigger than the rest, and that's Big Kitty. And there's always that one little girl who, especially in kindergarten and such, comes to school all dressed up with, dangles and sparkles and things, and she would inspire Pretty Kitty. I see a lot of twins, and so they inspired the twin kitties. And then there was Strange Kitty. And Strange Kitty was definitely me as a boy, because I was the kitty who would go to a birthday party with a stack of comic books, just in case I had no interest in whatever was happening in the kitty games. And that way I could go sit in the corner and read comic books and be perfectly content. Uncle Murray was based on my own real life Uncle Murray. And I depicted him as I remember him. He was sort of balding and doughy, and I'd visit him at home, so he's always walking around in pajama pants and a stained gray t-shirt.
You're also an illustrator.
Yeah, arguably, yes.
Okay, an artist. Did you always want to be an artist?
I always wanted to be a cartoonist. And I know that's maybe an unfair distinction, because I would argue that cartooning is a form of art. but it's a very specific form where it's telling a story with both words and illustration. And I point that out really because I don't even think of myself, I don't give myself the label of artist. I don't give myself even the label of illustrator. I like to, and I mean this in all sincerity, I like to give myself the label of somebody who writes stories using words and pictures. It is, you know, a craft into its, in and of itself. So when I was growing up, I wanted to have a comic strip in the newspapers. That was my dream. I wanted to be able to tell a short story each and every single day of the week, color on Sundays. That was my goal. So when I was young, I was drawing constantly. The opportunity to be doing children's books came much later in life. And that was due to my working at a children's bookstore that still exists. It's in New York City called Books of Wonder. And while I was there and just sort of surrounded by the whole picture book format, it suddenly hit me. And this was years into my working at the store and years into my working as a cartoonist on the side, that I realized this is the same language. Picture books are using this same language that comics do of telling a story with words and pictures. So when I started taking that discipline that I had as a cartoonist and applying it to the kind of stories I wanted to tell for children's books, it actually started to fall together pretty quickly. And I would have my first book published only a couple of years after I started doing that.
Can you show us a little bit of
Sure.
how you create?
Sure. In fact, I will show you one of the more important aspects of cartooning, and that is showing emotions. Emotions are really important in storytelling, right? I mean, every character in every story that's ever been written or ever will be written, those characters need emotions to seem real. But I've got a problem. It's kind of a big problem. My problem is that I created a character who does not talk. Kitty doesn't talk. She's a cat. So because she doesn't talk, she can't just tell us what she's thinking. She can't just tell us what she's feeling. The only way to know what Kitty is thinking or feeling is by seeing the expressions on her face. That is my challenge, and I'll show you how I approach that challenge each and every single time. So to do this, I have to draw Kitty herself. So when I'm drawing Kitty, I always start in the middle of her face. Whoops, let me hold that down. With that part of the body we call the elbow. No, wait, sorry. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes, knees, head, shoulders, and eyes, and ears, and nose. Sorry, nose. Below her nose, I draw her mouth. Now above her nose, I'm going to draw these two circles, and these are going to be her gallbladder. No, wait, sorry, hold on. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes, knees, and toes, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, knees, and toes, and eyes. Eyes. That's what I meant, eyes. Now above her eyes, I'm going to draw these sort of four hairy deals. My research shows that all cats have two ears. So for the sake of scientific authenticity, I always try to give her two ears. Now next come these sort of whiskery deals, and the middle one's always a little longer than the other two. Skinny neck, shoulders, tuft of hair, and that's Kitty. But I'm not done yet, right? Because Kitty doesn't really have an expression here yet, right? You can't really look at this face and know for sure what Kitty's thinking. You certainly cannot look at this face and know for sure what she's feeling. That's about to change. Because with a single stroke of this marker, I'm going to turn this expressionless Kitty into annoyed Kitty. This is going to happen quickly, so pay attention. Here we go. No expression. Annoyed. In case you missed it the first time. No expression. Annoyed. No expression. Annoyed. See, the smallest detail can make a huge difference. It's knowing where to put that detail. That's my challenge.
Is coming up with the words way easier than your drawing?
It's an equal balance, and that's a terrific question. Bearing in mind that what I said earlier is true, that I think of myself as somebody who tells a story with words and pictures. The process is I come up with the idea first, of course. Then I write the outline in some way, and the outline is the only step where only the words exist alone. And the outline is my map where I know where I'm going to start. I kind of know the points of interest where I want to move through, and I know where I want to wind up. And that outline is something that I'll type into the computer. But when it comes to actually writing the words, the full story, as it's going to appear in the book, I'm taking just sheets of paper and I'm writing and sketching at the same time. Especially with a character who doesn't talk like Kitty doesn't talk, it's really important for me to be able to have Kitty react to the words I write. And I can only show that with sketches and illustrations. The other reason why it's so important for me to write and draw simultaneously is because it is so important when making a book like this, especially the kind of book where it's so heavily illustrated. What happens on the left, this side, the left side of the spread is really important compared to what happens on the right side of the spread, because it's when you turn the page that makes a difference. You want there to be a nice surprise when you turn the page. Every page is like a page is sort of a you want every turn of the page to be kind of like a surprise. So here I have a page, I turn the page, everything goes like that. I can't do that if the pages are on opposite sides of each other. So writing and drawing and laying this all out all together simultaneously is really important.
About how long does it take you to work on a book, either a chapter book or your picture book?
They both take roughly 6 to 7 months now. And the reason is, the chapter books are monochromatic. I mean, there have as many as 160 pages, but all of the illustrations are shades of gray. So it doesn't require quite as much painting, but the picture books, even though they're only 32 pages, they require a lot of painting. So the artwork takes much longer. I say that knowing, though, that it's about to change, because this is going to be the last of the Bad Kitty chapter books where all the illustrations are going to be one color. Starting with one that comes out this coming January, which will be Bad Kitty on Vacation, it will be the first color Bad Kitty book. There are some brilliant colorists out there who are putting color not only to the book that's coming out, but also to all the earlier ones. So I'm in this funny situation where I am having to go back to all of my previous Bad Kitty chapter books and redraw the line art, because they can't scan what I have and isolate the line art in such a way that the color can be dropped in digitally.
That is so cool. I had no idea that you were doing that.
It's been interesting, if anything, to me to revisit books that I first worked on over 12 years ago and see how my own style of illustration has changed since then.
When you came up with Bad Kitty, you came up with a title before you came up with a character.
That's exactly right? That is exactly right. It's a creative device that I use, and I think some other authors do too, where rather than trying to come up with a story first, I try to come up with a title first. So roughly 17 years ago now, I was sitting at home, trying, just sort of loosely free associating interesting titles to stories, titles I'd never seen before, didn't think even existed. And as I wrote them down, the words Bad Kitty, I'd never seen a book called Bad Kitty. And I thought, oh, I like that title. I wonder what the story could be about. Well, obviously it's a cat who's being bad, but then there's that important thing that everyone has to do when they're writing a story, and that's to ask questions. So I asked myself the question, okay, why does this cat do all these terrible things? Like, oh, well, food is involved in cat behavior, so she didn't get all the food she wanted. Okay, So what did she do that was so terrible? And I started writing down my ideas there, and I came up with so many ideas, I thought it would be interesting if I put them into alphabetical order. And I liked what I was coming up with so much that I decided to devote myself to fleshing this out and creating an actual manuscript, a book dummy that I could show to editors.
I think that's really cool that it's a little bit different. And so this is more of a grown-up question probably, but it really relates to, I read an article where you, I believe were actually interviewing yourself, where you made the distinction between writing about what you know and writing about what you care about.
That's right. The trope, if you will, that writing teachers tell to students is to write what you know. And it makes sense, right? Because if you don't know about something, then the writing could come off as dishonest. And that is, that will always show to the reader. But I think it's incomplete. My feeling is that don't write what you know about, write what you care about. And so the example I always give is, for instance, I've been doing my own taxes because I've been self-employed for decades now. Actually, finally got smart and hired an accountant a couple of years back, and he saved me like days of time so I can continue my work. But because of it, I know the tax code pretty well. But that is not something I ever would want to write about. And that is not something that anybody's ever going to want to read about from me, except maybe tax accountants, but even they probably have better reading in mind with, you know, so I could write those things and it could help someone go to sleep if that's their objective, right? But it doesn't interest me. So I think it's more interesting to write what you care about. Because even if you don't necessarily know it, like say you're somebody who really cares about, I don't know, cowboys. That's something that really interests you. Even if you don't know about it, two things will happen. The writing you create will feel authentic because you care about it and you're enjoying the process. The other thing is that it may encourage you to find out more so that you do know more so that you can write better.
I am so pleased that I got to talk to you today and to hear like your inspiration and everything. So I kind of feel like, is there anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
I'll add one thing. Today happened to be the day that I released a brand new Bad Kitty book, and it's called Bad Kitty Wash Your Paws. It is free. It can be instantly downloaded as a PDF, which means that once you download it, it is yours to keep. And once you download it, you can print it. The illustrations are black and white line art, so you can color it if that's what you choose to do. It's 24 pages and readily available at badkittybooks.com.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much, Nick, for talking with us. You are truly a rock star. So everyone, raise your hands and clap. Woohoo.
Well,
thank you, Nick.
You're welcome. Thank you. And I hope everybody is safe, healthy, and especially happy. All right. Take care of yourselves.